All right, we're going to go on a quick 30-minute rocket ride here and run you through some incentive ideas and why we do these things, and I'll give you a little bit about my background in a second, but first off, a little test. What all do you see on the screen here? Dot? What else? A black hole? White space. Somebody said 2 black dots. You guys might have had a little too much to drink last night. 99.9% of that screen is white, and when I ask most people what they see, they always say black dot. And what happens when we see what's wrong instead of what's right, all the employees start doing what's wrong. And so we have to really kind of switch from being what I call a black dot manager to a white screen manager. We have to start catching people doing things right and talking about things that are done properly so that the black dots shrink and go away. Now, if any of you all want to take pictures of the slides, feel free. If you want to just get an email at the end of the session with a PDF, my email will be up there, so just send me an email at the end of the show saying you want the slides and I'll send them to you. Now, who knows who this is? Mike Ditka, former coach of the Chicago Bears, very opinionated. He said about the Miami Dolphins bullying scandal a few years ago, you get what you tolerate. Everybody asks me all the time, well, how do you get your employees to be friendly? How does Chick-fil-A get their employees to come in uniform and those kind of things? It's because that's all they accept. You have uniform problems, you have employee tardiness problems, you have employees that slack because you accept it. You do. We get so desperate, it is so hard to hire people that we put up with subpar performance because we feel like it's better than nothing. And I would argue all day long that it's not. I would rather pay overtime to good employees than have slack employees working at 80% and taking care of our guests at a B or C level. So hopefully I can change your mindset a little bit. I actually worked for Chuck E. Cheese for 18 years. Anybody ever been to Chuck E. Cheese? Voluntarily? Okay, I worked there for 18 years. I did a one-year stint in rehab after I got done there just to kind of get that out of my system. But I've been a consultant and a speaker for the last 17 years. So I know you guys are looking at me right now going 17 years of consultant, 18 years at Chuck E. Cheese. I started at Chuck E. Cheese when I was 6, okay? So the last 15, 16, 17 years, I've worked with a lot of restaurants and hotels and some other businesses on how to get people to improve service. And it really is all about the people you hire and how you train them and incentivize them to do things at a high level. So I'm going to share a lot of what you see or what I've learned up there, as well as I also own 7 Which Superior Sandwich locations. I've got 4 in Dallas, I got New Braunfels, Marble Falls, and I have 1 in Houston. So I drive this Texas Triangle a lot like many of you do. I live in this world every single day that I am not speaking and consulting. I'm doing Papa Murphy's in Portland, Oregon tomorrow, and then Wednesday to Sunday I'm back running my restaurants. So I'm not some guy that just wrote a book and says this is what you ought to do and I live in la la land. I live in this business. I have written a couple books on how to run restaurants and how to motivate today's generation. I wrote a book a few years ago called Send Flowers to the Living, and that's really the basis of the white screen philosophy. Because when do most flowers show up in relationships? Ladies, when do they show up? At the beginning when you're dating, and then when else? When there's problems, when you screw up, right? I know I've been in the floral department in my local grocery store, and you walk by another guy and you kind of look at him and you go, oh, what'd you do, right? What'd you do? All right? Ladies, what happens when the flowers show up when they're not supposed to? It's not an anniversary, it's not a special event, it's not a birthday. What are you thinking when the flowers show up kind of out of the blue? You appreciate it and you're saying, what'd you do wrong, right? The same thing is going to happen with your employees. When you switch from the black dot manager to the white screen, your employees are going to be a little skeptical. Why is this person doing this for me? It's unexpected, it's not natural, it hasn't been happening before. What are they expecting from me? And it's different because they've never been managed like that. So I want to share with you at a high level first, and then we'll drill into the incentives. You have to reward what matters and what drives your business. You can't do touchy-feely stuff where you just throw a bunch of ideas out to the employees or you throw a bunch of incentives out and there's not a business case for what you do. If you're a business owner, you have to make money at this deal. Otherwise, it's called a charity. I actually have one. I always joke around I own 6 witches and 1 charity because I have one that doesn't make any money. It is a charity. It's my 501c3. You guys know what those things are, okay? You have to reward what matters, and ours started with this. We measure guest satisfaction in our which locations. When somebody gives me a 5 on employee friendliness versus a 4 on employee friendliness, and keep in mind, 4 is pretty good. When they give us a 5 on employee friendliness, 91% of those guests give us a 5 on the taste of the food. When we get a 4 on employee friendliness, 37% of those guests give us a 5 on the taste of the food. So we started this focus on employee friendliness as what we started to do with the incentives, because that's what drives our business. As I mentioned earlier, I have restaurants in Dallas, I have them outside of Austin, and I got them outside of Houston. My average unit volumes are 30% higher than the rest of the markets that I compete in with the witches. My stores do 30% more money, and I firmly believe it is because we started with this day one, store one. We tell our employees, make the guests say wow, and we put our money where our mouths are. So that's what we're going to do. I have another value in our company called MBA. It stands for mutually beneficial for all. It's win-win. If everybody thinks win-win. We too often fight with our employees because we want it to be busy. They want it to be slow because they get paid the same amount of money whether it's busy or slow. We don't make money until it's busy. We want to send them home early to save labor, and so we fight with them all the time, and we have to get everybody aligned. So you'll see as I go through the incentive ideas, it's good for the business and it's good for the employee, and ultimately it will be good for the guest. All right, now I want you to just quickly take a mental checklist of your employees. I would bet they'll fall into one of 3 categories, and it will probably be in similar ratios to this. 30% of your people are rock stars. If you leave this conference and tell them tomorrow when you get back to run your next shift, let's do A instead of B, they'll have no problem doing it. Happy to do that. Great, that's awesome. You're making our job easier. The 50% in the middle, I call them who's closing tonight. You know those employees, they walk in, they say, hey, who's closing tonight? And what are they telling you when they say who's closing tonight? If I have to behave like this, I can. If they'll let me slack off, I'll behave like that. Full disclosure here, I am a 50%er who's closing tonight when it comes to working out. I am. I stayed at a local hotel here last night. I busted it for 20 minutes this morning in the little fitness room down there. I didn't burn anything. I probably burned 200 calories. I actually have to speak to Orange Theory Fitness in a few weeks, and I go to their sessions with a professional trainer, 1,100 calories in an hour. I can do it, but I just can't do it without a little incentive and a little structure. I need people to drive my performance. You need to be the person taking that 50%er that works for you and driving them higher. Incentives can help you. But ideally, if you can get that 50% over to the 30, you got 80% of the people doing exactly what you want. What happens to that other 20% that bitch and moan and gripe about every single thing you do? The anchors, the C players, they could win the lottery and they would complain how much income tax they had to pay on it. You know who these people are. Most managers spend time with the 20%ers. And when you spend time with the 20%ers, the 50%ers go the wrong direction. Black dot, 20%ers, white screen, 30%ers. Incentivize the 50%ers. They need it. Yes, I'm 52 years old and I'm old school, and I think you should do everything I want you to because I give you a paycheck every 2 weeks. That's how I was raised. That's how I wish everybody was today, but they're not. This generation needs a little extra incentive. Now, as you go through and think about incentives, okay, I want you to understand one thing clearly, and some of you are managers in this room. You can put all the incentives in the world into place, but if you have a crummy manager, the incentives will not fix your issue. So if you're the owner, hey, I have a couple restaurants where my supervisors are just not that great. I can try and work around them all day long, but whatever we allow in those restaurants is what's going to happen. You cannot fix a bad GM. If that's the culture they have in that restaurant, you can't out-incentivize them. And suffice it to say the letter F in shift is pretty critical, okay? So here's how you can tell what your employees think of you. You walk into your restaurant, and how many are service people here? Full service. How many of you are quick service, fast casual? How many are never going to raise their hand no matter what I ask? Okay, honest ones. All right. Walk back to your expo line. Walk into your kitchen and say, hey, who made this? What are you going to hear when you walk into your kitchen or your expo line and say, hey, who made this? I don't know. What else?
Not me.
Not me. What's wrong? If you hear that, that means you're a black dot manager. And that's not a bad thing. That is just who you are. When I started working out, I weighed too much, okay? It's not so important with where we are today. It's what you're going to do about it. So at least go through and find out where you are. If you go through and say, hey, who made this? Wow, it wasn't me. Oh, it was him or it was her. Look at this. This is perfect. This is exactly like it's supposed to look. What happens next time you walk through the kitchen? Who made this? I did, me. Why? Because people want attention. Think about this generation. Leverage the thing we all hate about them, which is short attention spans, and they want to be on their phones all the time, and they love entitlement. They want attention. Leverage that. Spoon feed them with that. It's like heroin for them. They just get addicted, and they want more, and they want more, and they want more. Pretty soon they'll be coming up to you and say, hey, did you just see what I sold to that guest? Hey, did you talk to them? Look what I did. That's how we get them going on our side. So now I want to jump into the incentive ideas. These are going to be 15, 16, maybe 17 tactics that will work. Not every single one will work for every single restaurant. I've got some in here that are full serve, some are quick serve, some are back of the house. So let's go through it. First and foremost, I would suggest you have some sort of recognition currency. When I worked at Chuck E. Cheese, what do the little kids win when they play the games? Tickets. What do they save the tickets for? Overpriced crap? Yeah, I know, I agree, okay? They win tickets. They win tickets for something else. So what we do, we have a recognition currency. The one up there, Smart Restaurant Group, is the name of my franchise group. We actually give out business cards that have our logo on them. They're worth $0.25. One of my clients in Canada, A&W, they use poker chips that are worth $1. Okay, it's not really important what they're worth. It's that we get this mentality of people that get rewarded for above and beyond behaviors save these cards. So when I do something great, I get a great guest comment, boom, they may get 4 cards in my case. Or they may get 10 cards depending on what they're doing, and I'll show you some other ways we use this. But you have to have a recognition currency so the kids can save it. I let them save up for whatever they want for as long as they want. Because I learned a long time ago, the most effective incentive is the one that employee wants. What drives me doesn't drive them. And what drives you may not drive you. I don't drink coffee, okay? Well, a lot of people do. Starbucks cards would never work for me. They would work for my wife and daughter. Here's how it can work. Here's how you can change from a black dot manager to a white screen manager overnight. How many of you have employee attendance problems? They can't get there on time. How many of you all can't get there on time? That may be step 1 in fixing your problem, okay? But let's say in my case, I need 5 people to run my busy lunch shift. I have 5 people. 11:30, it's just about to get busy, and Frank calls in and says, flat tire, car broke down, dog ate my homework. Just list off the number of excuses that you get from the employee. He can't make it, so now I only have 4 people to run lunch. What's going to happen to my guest experience that day? My cook times are going to go up. My people are going to be stressed. We're going to make more mistakes. Here's what happens, and here's how you turn it around. I go to my 4 employees that got here on time today, and I say, you know what? Thank you all for getting here on time. Frank's not coming in. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you 4 smart cards an hour each. So basically, I'm going to give you $1 extra per hour for every hour during lunch today that we make no mistakes, and I have no products go over our standard cook time. Now, what are these 4 employees going to be doing for those few hours in the shift where it's busy? They're going to be busting their butts. What's my guest experience going to be like? Significantly better. Ultimately, what am I going to learn as a manager or a business owner? How many people do I need to run a busy lunch shift? 4 rock stars. What are they going to tell Frank tomorrow? Don't come in. Now, do the math. All right, I went to the University of Texas, so I'll make this simple for anybody that went to A&M, okay? All right, sorry. All right. It's a FedEx joke, you'll get it tomorrow, all right? Now, Frank makes this many dollars. Frank doesn't show up, so as a business owner, how much money do I make if I don't replace Frank on that shift? $10 an hour. My shift goes sideways. I guarantee I lose way more than $10 an hour. I have 4 other employees. Frank makes this much. If I give them $4 an hour extra because we hit our standards, how much extra money did I make? I still made $6. They each made $1 more per hour. MBA, mutually beneficial for all. Good for me, good for the guest, good for my employees. And ultimately, if I can run this with 4 rock stars, boom, I still have $6 an hour to play with. When people come to you and say, I want a raise, or what else can I do to make more money, you got to get rid of the C players. They're the ones that are tying up $10 an hour, $12 an hour, $15 an hour for mediocre work. Get rid of them and give the money to the people that perform. When you get guest compliments, you have to pass them on. You have to highlight these folks and what they're doing. That's where the smart cards come in really handy for us. I want the smart cards to teach my managers to be looking for things. So as a mom is walking away and she's got her tray of food and she's got a baby in this arm and trying to drag a 2-year-old in this arm, and you see an employee go up there and just grab her tray for food and carry her to the table, or not carry her to the table, carry the food to the table, or ask that lady if she wants a refill so she doesn't have to kind of get up and carry the kid and those things. Those are the things that, boom, you reward on the spot. You start rewarding guest compliments, and what are all your good employees going to start doing? Looking for ways they can get some of that. Because the good employees that are getting the cards, what are they going to be doing? They're going to be showing them off. The ones in the middle are going to figure out, wow, if I do a little more, I'm going to get a little more. What are the C players going to be doing? Complaining. Look at these stupid employees working harder. Even your B-level managers can start to see the difference between an A and a B+ player and a C. And you can replace the C's easier. Hopefully you went to one of the recruiting sessions yesterday. The other thing you can do is reward team goals. This is a little bit more difficult, it's a little bit harder, but food costs, sales for the day, those kind of things. Most of our employees probably think if we take in $1 of sales, we make 95% profit, don't they? They have no idea that we may not make any money, or we may make somewhere between 5 and 15 cents. We want to reward team goals. Be careful that you don't just pair a random back of the house person with a front of the house person, because if there's no performance link between what the person in the kitchen's doing to what the person is doing out front and that outcome, it doesn't work. But we can put together teams. I'll give you some examples. Here's a couple more incentive ideas that we use. These are just general ideas that may work for you. During my lulls in my business, when all my employees complain to me, oh, TJ, I need more hours, I need more hours. Yeah, well, I need more sales. More sales for me equals more hours for you. So we did a thing last year in the 4th quarter, which is our slow quarter, and I know in full service it's probably not, but in ours it is. We give out coupons that the employees can go out, and I pay them when they do this. They go do feet on the street. They write their names on the coupons, and they get 25 cents for every coupon redeemed. What happens if no coupons get redeemed? How much money am I out? Just the simple cost of printing the coupon. You spend $1,500 doing a direct mail. What do you get out of it? Who knows? Maybe nothing, maybe a lot. But when your employees are giving these coupons out, and I have to tell them, not in the parking lot, not to people at the store that are already here, outside. So they're going to local businesses, they're going to car dealers, they're going out to their schools and giving them to teachers. They get 25 cents for every coupon redeemed. What does it do to my business? Drives it. What does it do to their paycheck? Drives it. The cool thing for me as a business owner is, what do I get first before I have to pay the reward out? I get the revenue, because the guest is coming in paying me $7, and I got to pay out a quarter. Greatest marketing return you could ever do, guaranteed. And if it doesn't work, you're out nothing. You could even think about doing these with if you have a delivery driver, if you're doing your own delivery. I have this belief that the repeat orders from the customers in a delivery business are directly reflected to the product quality and the interaction with that driver. So let the drivers give out coupons with their names similar to ones you just saw. Put bounce backs on there for catering orders, especially if you're doing those deliveries. If you're doing a catering for 100, bring 100 coupons. Let that person that did the delivery have their name on it. Now I know when they're done with third parties, it's a little bit different. But we're trying to just spread the word. We all compete. I compete against Firehouse, Jersey Mike's, Jimmy John's, Subway, Potbelly, McAllister's, Panera. I mean, we all compete in a hyper-competitive market. We have to get our brand out there in front of people with an incentive to come back. So now let's look at the front of the house. These can work for both cashiers or servers, okay? Reward selling add-ons. It may be breadsticks or wings if you're in a pizza. It may be some sort of premium liquor. You got to teach the people how to sell, and you got to reward them, because if they're selling more for you and you're making another $1 or $2 on that drink, or another couple bucks adding on those wings, they have to get something out of it. I firmly believe you should compete against yourself and not compete against the other servers or cashiers, because most people, what they do, most restaurants, when they put a contest in, they put the contest out, and the server that works the busiest shifts in the best station always wins. Or the cashier that works the most hours always wins. And what does everybody else do halfway through the contest? They give up because it's not fair. Compete against yourself. If you can track how many add-ons that phone person is doing on the pizza orders, or how many premium liquors that server or bartender is training, get them a reward for beating what they did the day before. Get them a reward for beating their historical average, because that is getting them to compete against themselves. And if they improve, you improve. So to me, that's one of those critical components. Don't get them to compete so much against each other, get them to compete against themselves. Maybe reward a perfect guest check. Everybody that gets was an appetizer, a dessert, drink, whatever the case may be that you're selling, they get a few smart cards for every one of those that they sell. Because what are they going to be doing with the guests then as the guest orders? They're trying to think of what they can add on to get them to do that. Okay? So really look at what you sell and what you don't sell, and reward those kind of things. Now keep in mind, you have to teach people how to do this stuff. I've learned a long time ago, anything else is not suggestive selling. Anything else? Anything else? Anything else? That's not suggestive selling. Would you like dessert is not suggestive selling. Hey, we're featuring tiramisu or cheesecake. Which can I get you? That's suggestive selling. We have to teach them how to be successful. We've got to put that training component in. Even better yet, to kind of get out of that annoying selling an item or a specific item, whether you're going through a restaurant drive-through or as a server, I would rather get the employees to just sell. I don't care what it is, just that they sell. I teach them to pair what's profitable with what's popular. But if I have a server or a cashier whose check average right now is $12, I really don't care what they sell. I educate them on their check average, and let's go through what we can do to improve it. And then in this case, if I give them smart cards for everything that they sell above $12. So in this case, if they bump their check average to $12.50, they took care of 200 customers in the cash register line that day, they bumped the check average 50 cents, they made me $100. I give them 20 smart cards, which is worth $5. Basically, they're on 5% commission. Maybe it's 10% in your business, I don't know. What happens tomorrow? What are they going to try and do? Keep selling more and keep beating it. I'm up $100. I have to give them $5 or $10 of that? That's awesome. I'll do that all day long. Teach your employees to sell. It's MBA. It's mutually beneficial for all. Okay? This is one of the most effective things we do, and I know catering may not be that much of a part of your business, but it may be. I do 4 times the catering business that all the other witches do. And it's because of this. Now, what I do is I give all my employees 10% of any catering they get me. So I have people that go out there and talk to schools for me because they're trying to get a football team to order, or a basketball team, or a band, or a drill team. Down in the bottom right there in the center, you see Sarah. She was out talking to a guest one day. Somebody walked into our restaurant with a lanyard on. And I made a 1-minute video clip called Sales Radar. And it's basically, look at your customers, look at the clues, connect with them on some level. She said, I saw this guy come in, he had a Keller ISD lanyard on. So I started talking to him. I said, do you guys do team meals or teacher meals or not? Well, no, but you know what? I have this big debate tournament coming up. It's 500 box lunches. The order was $2,950. Sarah calls me and says, hey, she was jumping through the phone. I got an order at $2,950. I get $295. Yes, you do. Now, the business owner, are you thinking right now, God, that's a lot of money to give an employee. Had she not talked to that person, what would I get as a business owner? 0. She got basically another week's pay. So my ops guy at the time says, hey, let's just do the big Happy Gilmore check, okay? Let's make this a big deal and send it out to our employees so they know. So that's a dry erase check. That's the same check in every picture, okay? I'm cheap, all right? $44 at bigcheck.com with your logo on it. Best $44 I've ever spent. So we take the picture with Sarah, and I give her the check. I grossed it up for income tax purposes, so she cleared $295, okay? She says to me, can I have the picture? And this is where the old dog gets taught a new trick. So what do you want the picture for? What does a 20-year-old want a picture for? Their brag montage, Facebook, Instagram. I said, okay, deal, I'll give you the picture, but will you sign a waiver that'll let me use that picture in my recruitment ads? Because now my recruitment ads say hourly incentive pay. What does that do to help me recruit the right kind of people? Boom. Biggest check. I got a call about a year ago from my manager in New Braunfels, just up the road. She says to me this, is there a cap on the bonus? Now, what am I thinking at this point? Is there a cap on the bonus? What am I thinking? Holy cow, how big is this check? $5,100 order, $510. Because she talked to a customer that had a Walmart distribution name badge on. Boom. That's when you know you're winning. You can do this with servers or cashiers. Just make a bingo card. Get them to sell the different items. Now again, if you walked in late, I'll be happy to email a PDF of the slides to you. Just send me an email at the end. My email will be on the last slide. Just get them to practice selling out of their comfort zone. Servers and cashiers like to sell that one item. Get them out of their comfort zone. When I teach suggestive selling, I say let the guest order and then pick something that they didn't order that you're likely to get a yes to and ask one question. Just ask the one right question for that guest, and it's different for everyone. This gets them out of their comfort zone. If you have hosts that don't like to talk to people on the way to the table, somebody blocking my mouse there. There we go. I think all hosts learn Chinese. Hi two, follow me, right? That's all they ever say to the guests. Hi four, follow me. I want my hosts to talk to the guests on the way to the table. This could work with cashiers too. Just get them to interact with the guests. Do you live around here? Do you work around here? How often do you come in? We're just trying to make small talk with the guest on the way to the table. My really cool full service restaurants, we actually teach them and the host to actually write a code on the guest check, place it face down on the table for the server so they know, here celebrating, in a hurry, never been here before, regular, boom, the server can then customize the experience. So that's how we can really ratchet up the level of service by tying some incentives in. Do closest pin for an item. How many of these are we going to sell today? Unfortunately, a lot of times people will just, I'm going to sell 10 and they get to 9 or 10 and then they start telling the customer or the guest they're out of those items, so be careful. I would rather use closest to the pin for more things like sales or costs. What are our sales going to be today? What is our food cost going to be or our liquor cost going to be this week to get everybody engaged in the outcome? Because if I have this group of 8 working in my kitchen and one person thinks they don't have to weigh things or they make mistakes all the time, these other 7 don't care about my food costs, but if now I tell them you're going to get a bonus, what happens? They're going to start caring, right? That back of the house is hard. So here's a couple of back of the house ideas. One, give them a fraction of the action, just like we discussed. If somebody comes up with a better system, a way to save money, give them 5 or 10% of that cost savings. Don't keep it all for yourself, because we want to encourage our staff to think. We want to encourage to think of better ways to do things. So give them a fraction of the action. Here's how it could work in the food cost example I just gave you. My food cost is a half a point too high. If we get our food cost down 0.2, everybody, it's not a raise, it's a bonus, because they have to perform for me to have the money to get the reward. It's not a raise. If you give them a raise, you just make less money. You give them a raise, you make less money, you don't guarantee the performance. You give them a bonus, performance has to happen first. Performance drives morale, it's not the other way around. Don't make this a touchy-feely place and expect everybody to magically start performing better. Winning is contagious. Do this in your kitchen. We used to put $21 bills up in the window, just hanging there. And it could be not real $1, but every time an item goes over the cook time where there's a mistake, $1 comes down. What starts happening to everybody's sense of urgency? We're getting close, we're getting close. Hurry up, hurry up. Hey, let me help you. I'm caught up. Let me help you versus, it's not you're behind over there. We're trying to build that team goal of taking care of the guests and getting our food out right and getting it out fast, okay? What else I got in there? This is a thing called Gator. It's get all the orders right. This is done similar to what I just described. There's a chain in Tennessee called Pal Sudden Service. $2.3 million average unit volume in an 1,100 square foot drive-through. Wow, 200 cars an hour through a single lane drive-through. They make one mistake every 3,700 orders. What they do is they do Gator. Every hour there's no mistake, or nothing goes over their standard times. $1 goes into what looks like a suggestion box. And at the end of the week, they divide up the suggestion box, the money that's in there. If you work 20% of the hours, you get 20% of the money. You work 10% of the hours, you get 10%. Builds the team environment, but rewards individually, because those that work more should get more, okay? Now I know we're kind of pushing up to the end. I'm gonna go a few minutes over. Is that okay? Can I go a couple minutes over? All right. Here's one there's no financial impact on, but it'll help get your kitchen clean. Just get your day dots, put them all over the hard to clean and hard to see spaces, find the dot, clean the spot. Every 10 day dots they bring back to you, they get a prize, or they get some smart cards, or whatever the case may be. I'm trying to teach my employees to look for things that is beyond just what they see. Because if they start looking for dirt, it's a lot easier than me coming in. I always tell them, my kids at college, I have nobody to nag at home. I don't want to come in here and nag. Let's set this up so I can just come in here and talk about all the fun stuff. So find the dot, clean the spot. Now as we get through these incentives, Charles Barkley said long ago at a slam dunk contest a few years ago, Gatorade doesn't help people that suck. Gatorade doesn't help people that suck. And what that means is incentives will never help the wrong person do the right thing. Your C players will not change. All the incentives in the world will not get the C player to change. You got to get rid of the C's. Use that money to pay for these kind of things, all right? The other thing I would add here too as I kind of wrap up is, as I said earlier, the most effective incentive is the one that employee wants. Thomas Jefferson, who said all men are created equal, also said there's nothing more unequal than the equal treatment of unequal people. All your employees are different. Some need to be trained. Some know this naturally, okay? So go out and look at your vendors to train them. If I can get this stupid mouse to work, there we go. There's a lot of vendor material available to teach your people how to sell better. Whether it's your food distributor, your liquor distributor, things like this that Coca-Cola and other brands do, they're out there for you, okay? Mega Tips is the best study I've ever seen. If you're in a full service restaurant, Cornell did this. There's 14 proven behaviors to get guests to tip more. Just Google Mega Tips by Cornell. Teach your servers how to get a $5,000 raise. They're not going to quit if they're making $5,000 more with you, okay? So I just burned through 17 incentives. I want to wrap this up with a simple exercise because my job's real easy. It's easy to talk about this stuff. It's easy for you all to sit here and say, oh, this is going to be different. Everybody just make the okay sign real quick. Just make the okay sign. Gradually bend your elbow and bring it up toward your face and put it on your chin. What did I say? Put it on your, what are all you doing? It doesn't matter what you say to your employees. It matters what you do and how you treat them. So again, if anybody needs the slides, there's my email. Just shoot me an email. I'll stick around if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, everybody enjoy the rest of the show. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, TJ.